How's it going, everybody? I have just got back from my second viewing of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I was lucky enough to get seats for IMAX for the second time. I saw it opening night a couple weeks ago. Um, I was gonna put out a review, but I wanted to really see it a second time, especially with the book being pretty fresh on my mind after reading it a second time. Um, so yeah, let's just get into it. Um, this movie is beautiful to look at. Um, everyone probably knows, it's the first movie shot entirely with an IMAX camera. So it's watch it on the biggest screen as you can find, 70 millimeter if you're lucky to have one close to you. Yeah, try to see it in IMAX, biggest best screen that you can find. It's a visual treat. It is really something to look at. It is really cool looking movie. Um, Packed theater both times. It was kind of crazy. I love being in a full theater for a movie like this and just feeling the energy of the audience. Both times I saw it, it was really cool. Yeah, let's just get into it. Yeah, the set design. I know there's a lot of controversy going into this movie. For the past really year, I remember the 70 millimeter tickets went on sale. I think exactly 1 year before the movie released a couple weeks ago. So this movie's been on a lot of people's minds for quite some time. A lot of controversy coming out within that past year. With the first thing I remember is the costumes not being period accurate, and then obviously the casting. A few of the casting choices were under some scrutiny. Some I agree with. Actually, most of it I agree with. But a lot of it didn't really ruin the movie for me. But we can get into that later. Yeah, this movie, like I said, try to see it on the biggest screen you can. Uh, Nolan does everything practically in all his movies. This one, just as much so. Set on location, shot on location, real ships, practical effects. It's really cool. I want to talk about the Cyclops scene. Oh, this is going to be a spoiler review. Spoilers for a almost 3,000-year-old story. Just be warned. Yeah. So this movie's about Odysseus, the hero of the Trojan War, coming home back to Ithaca from Troy after the Battle of Troy. He's gone for 20 years. The Battle of Troy took place over 10 years, and then it took him 10 years to get back to Ithaca to his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So yeah, and the movie basically is about his journey back home and all the things that he and his crew encounter coming back home. So it's kind of it's a road trip movie, but on the ocean, and each stop they encounter monsters and strange people and magic, all sorts of things. Yeah, so it's based on Homer's The Odyssey. It's a very old story. This is kind of the concrete, like, the story for European civilization. Really, it's kind of the groundwork for a lot of stories that we know and love today. Inspired many stories. The book has been adapted dozens of times because it's originally an oral tradition passed down from generation to generation. Then it was written down, and it's been told dozens of times. Many different translators with different takes, different changes. Yeah, modern interpretations like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" is a good example of a modern take. The story is similar, just in a different setting, and that's kind of what this movie is and what it isn't. Kind of how it's told. Yeah, the first stop on their way home. So the movie follows kind of two stories at once. It follows Odysseus and his crew and their odyssey, their journey home, and it also follows his family back at Ithaca. So the suitors, these strangers, know that Odysseus has been gone away from his home for 20 years, and there's dozens of suitors that have basically taken over Odysseus' family's home, and are basically waiting for the queen to pick one of them to marry. So those are the two kind of stories that are going on simultaneously. This movie, isn't without its problems. But I want to talk about kind of step by step the journey that Odysseus takes. Yeah, the first stop that they take, they stop at this island to get supplies because they're running low because it's a long journey home. And they come across this island. And they start hiking up the hills and they see sheep and they're like, "Oh, let's follow the sheep, see where it leads." And it leads them to this giant cave, and they end up encountering the Cyclops, as you all probably know. And I want to talk about the Cyclops for a minute. The the way they shot the Cyclops is you would think is, oh, it's CGI. It's not. They basically they shot the whole sequence kind of twice. Um, one version they had an actor playing the Cyclops, so all the makeup, it's all makeup and prosthetics. It's no CGI. And then for the actors in the cave, they created a 20 foot tall puppet animatronic. It might have been animatronic, but a giant puppet for the actors to react to and to act with. And then they superimposed the actor onto that puppet. So it's pretty cool. And the design of the Cyclops is chilling. And I'll probably pull up a picture of it here so you can see it. It's in the trailer too. But the design is just really, really cool. It's very eerie. Both times watching the movie, it's just kind of unsettling. It's like, what is this monster? It's very effective. I think that was really well done in the movie. Um, Also, I think the scenes with Cersei when that's another one of the stops. They go to the island of Cersei, and it's when she turns them all to pigs. Again, also all practical effects. And it's not like in the book where she just kind of puts a spell on them and they all turn to pigs. It's She kind of contorts them and shapes them and molds his crew into pigs, and it's a really a body horror scene from like a Cronenberg film, and it's really kind of disgusting and creepy and gross, but it's really effective. It makes me kind of want to see what Chris Nolan would how he would make a horror movie. It's kind of a nod to that, maybe something he'll make in the future. But I thought that was really well done. The Giants, that is one pretty significant change from the book that I noticed. So in the book, they encounter one of their pit stops. They come on this land and they encounter giants, man-eating giants, cannibals. And they get chased back onto their boat by the giants, and the giants sit on the shore and throw giant boulders at their fleet of ships. Nolan made a change in the movie. They weren't quite as big as they were described in most translations. They were 7-8 feet tall. They're still giants, but they were scaled down a little bit. But I think it worked for the movie. Maybe his reasoning was he didn't want to have just another giant, because the Cyclops in the movie is pretty ginormous, so maybe he thought it would have felt similar. I don't mind the change. It is a change, and I understand why people would have some issue with it. But the giants, the design, the armor was really cool. I know it's not period accurate because they have steel armor in the Bronze Age, but really effective scene, I thought. Pretty scary too when they're getting chased back onto their ship. Most of the men getting just massacred by these giants. Sirens scene, hit and miss for me. You don't really see the sirens, but you're kind of seeing it from Odysseus' perspective while he's tied to the mast of the ship. I kind of wish they had gone. They kind of just bypassed that encounter from the book, and it was probably the shortest encounter. But I really liked how we didn't actually, as an audience, didn't hear the sirens' song, because of course in the story, Odysseus is told to, while they're going through the aisle, past the sirens to put wax in all his crew's ears, because the sirens they sing this song. Sirens sing a song, like this beautiful harmony to lure and attract sailors. And then they eat them, or do whatever to them. So Odysseus has his men put wax in their ears so they can pass safely and not be allured by the siren songs. But Odysseus, of course, he says, "Oh, tie me to the mast, and I'm gonna be the first person to listen to the siren songs and live to tell about it." But his crew have to tie him to the ship's mast so he can't jump out of the ship and like go to the sirens. And the scene acting by Matt Damon is awesome in this scene. I thought he's just tied to the mast and just hearing the melody of the sirens, which of course we don't hear. And he's just screaming. It starts out with he's just filled with joy and pleasure, and he's loving the harmony that the sirens are singing, and then it's like a mix of just happiness and pleasure, but also at the same time just agony and despair, and just the acting that Matt Damon portrayed in that scene was really really good, I thought. So it was a good scene, but I wish they kind of didn't go through it quite as fast. But it was a good scene for the most part. The stops that Odysseus and his crew make are handled well. They kind of combine the Lotus Eaters with what's her name? Charlize Theron's character, Calypso, when he's stranded on the island with Calypso for I think 5 years. They kind of combine that with Lotus Eaters. But yeah, so those are kind of the positives. They had a real ship. I know it was a Viking ship, not quite period accurate, but the scenes when they're on the ocean, in the storm, you just tell like I wanted to reach out to the screen and just touch the water. Everything was so real because it was shot practically on location. Just yeah, that's the best part of the movie for me, is just how real it felt. Yeah, so those are kind of my positives. I want to get into my negatives. The first time I saw the film on opening night, I saw it at my hometown theater, the one I usually frequent, in IMAX. And Christopher Nolan movies are kind of infamously known for having not very good sound mixing at all. So a lot of his movies, a lot of the scenes of his movies, the sound effects and the audio of voices and also the music just aren't blended well. So a lot of times the score will be just drowning out dialogue, and it's hard to hear. So the sound mixing of a lot of his movies isn't great. The first time watching the Odyssey, it was really bad. It was distractingly bad, and I could not hear a lot of the dialogue, which is a problem because if you can't hear the dialogue, you're missing out on the story. The second viewing I just went through, it wasn't quite as bad. There was a few scenes in the beginning where it was a little hard to hear, but nowhere near as bad. So I might not have had the best speakers in my IMAX theater the first time, but it is an issue. Not quite as egregious as something like Tenet or The Dark Knight Rises, but it is an issue and something that Chris Nolan just needs to work on, or at least oversee more, or be aware of. So that was one issue. Also, the score. Ludwig Göransson, that's how you pronounce his name. He's who Chris Nolan has been working with for his last few movies, I believe. Oppenheimer is an amazing score. It's one of my favorite Chris Nolan movie scores. This one, it isn't a bad score. It's just it's not really memorable. It doesn't stand out, but it's not bad. It's just it left me wanting a little more, especially after Oppenheimer's score is just so good. And I would listen to Oppenheimer's score just by itself, like in my car. I would not really ever see myself listening or reaching or searching out this particular soundtrack by itself. Again, it's not bad. It's just nothing special, I didn't think. One big change I want to talk about is just kind of the change of Odysseus' character as a whole. This is not the Odysseus that is in most translations of the Odyssey. I know this film is more based on Emily Wilson's translation, which I have not read, to be fair, but more deconstructing Odysseus as a character, which is common in a lot of media nowadays. Sometimes it works, most times it just gets very tiring. This movie, a little bit of both for me. So in the book, Odysseus is just he's a hero of the Trojan War. And he's cunning, he's smart, he's witty. You don't really get that in this film. He's more. It's kind of a deconstruction of Odysseus, even to the extent of one scene in the film. It's actually the siren scene. He tells his crew what the sirens sing to him, what sirens tell him, and one of the things they tell him is he learns that deep inside he really doesn't want to go home. Now that's earlier in the film. Towards the end of the movie, he realizes once he remembers everything, he realizes, oh, and he sees Penelope's pin that she gave to him at the beginning of the movie. Oh, I need to get home to my wife and son and take vengeance on the suitors who are terrorizing my home. So, yeah, and also making him basically feel guilty about the sack of Troy, like kind of making it a PTSD type of story about him just feeling guilty and having nightmares or visions of Athena as a priestess that was executed in Troy, and him viewing Athena as this girl played by Zendaya, um, seeing her as the goddess. Why am I blanking? Athena. So it's kind of it feels more of a post like war movie. I mean, it is a war movie, but him traveling back home, but also dealing with the effects that the war has on him and his guilt for sacking Troy, which is not how he is in the book at all. So that is a pretty big change to Odysseus' character, but I feel like it works for the movie, and I didn't have a huge problem with it. So yeah, as far as the controversies that have been surrounding this film for the past year, the costume, the choice of costumes, the metal that was not period accurate, and like the ships didn't really bother me because I'm not a historian or anything. I recognize that people that are knowledgeable about those things have issue with the film, and I completely understand, and that's justified. It didn't bother me because that's not something I'm an expert on. Um, the the Trojan armor was terrible though. That's one thing I will admit. At least their helmets, it looked like it was made of paper mache, and like it looked really bad, not practical at all, and it just looked kind of goofy. Other than that, I thought all the armor. I think Nolan was probably going for more of the cool factor. It's not like wildly inaccurate. A lot of it, I don't think, but it looks pretty cool, especially Agamemnon's armor. It's really really cool looking. Um, and the two I think biggest controversies surrounding this film is the casting. Um, let's talk about Elliot Page. Okay, um, transgender actor, playing a male character. So she's a female playing a male character. Um, really, the big issue I had with her character, I'm gonna refer to Elliot Page as he because she's playing a male character in this film. Sinon is the character Elliot's playing, who doesn't even appear in the Odyssey. Sinon is a character in the Aeneid poem it was written after the Iliad and the Odyssey. But he's basically taking the place of a character that was in the Odyssey, but just changing it. So I don't really understand the motivation behind that. It feels out of place. More so just because Elliot Page is just a tiny person, and he's supposed to be this warrior, this Greek warrior, and the character of Sinon is 5 foot, 100 pounds. So that kind of it pulled me out of the movie. Um, Sinon's not a major character in the film, so it's not a huge issue, but it pulls you out and it's kind of goofy. As far as Lupita Nyong'o playing Helen of Troy, like whatever. Yeah, she's not Greek, obviously, but most of these actors in this film aren't Greek. Besides, I think John Bernthal, I heard he might be Greek or something, but anyway, not Greek, African American actress. Again, she's in the movie for like a total of like maybe 3 minutes. Again, the motivation behind why she was cast can be debated on. I don't agree with it, but it doesn't ruin the film, at least not for me. The one thing I will say, Travis Scott appearing at the very beginning of the movie as the Bard completely threw me off. I don't listen to Travis Scott, but I know it's Travis Scott. And like, as is the first character you see in the movie, you're like, it's Travis Scott. It just kind of, again, pulled me out of the movie, but again, not into the film for very long at all. But yeah, overall, I think this is a very good movie. For me, I think it was the way I look at it is there being dozens and dozens of translations of Homer's The Odyssey, whether it be books or movies or what have you. This really is Christopher Nolan's adaptation of The Odyssey. Um, yeah, this is it's not a book obviously, but this is Nolan's Odyssey, and as a film, I think it really works. There's some issues that I have with it, but overall, I think it's a pretty good movie. Kind of mid-tier Nolan, not his best movie, but it's very good, and I would recommend you go see it again on the biggest screen possible. If you don't know anything about the Odyssey going in, I think you're gonna really enjoy it. If you do have at least some knowledge of the Odyssey, the book, you might have some issues with it. Whether those issues are really big enough to ruin the movie for you or not, I don't know. But I really enjoyed the Odyssey. I give it a recommend. Not without its issues, but overall, very good movie. I will be watching Spider-Man No Way Home, the new Spider-Man movie, tomorrow in Seattle. Excited for that movie, and I'll be putting out a review of that hopefully by this weekend. So that's a big movie that released actually tonight. The theater that I went to to see the Odyssey tonight was packed. Everyone was there to see Spider-Man though, so that movie's gonna make a ton of money this weekend. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be packed. It's nice to see people in theaters. Lately for the Odyssey and now for Spider-Man, it's just nice to see people going out into theaters, not just sitting at home watching a movie on streaming. Going out to theaters to see films how they're intended is really nice to see. So anyway, I'm going to go to bed. It's very late. I'll be watching Spider-Man tomorrow, and we'll have a video out about it this weekend.